Welcome back to the Common Sense podcast. I'm glad you guys are along for another episode. I'm happy to get into this today, and we're going to be going over a couple more prospects. But first, introduce Max. How you doing, Max?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Pretty fun week. Watching a lot of baseball, and then sitting back down here to talk some Sens.
Yeah, no, it's we're starting to get there to the real off season. So I'm kind of like, all right, let's get this over with now. Montreal's out, so it's like, all right, my hate watching is done. We can now just move on and get to the Sens off season when things start happening and things start moving. So yeah,
Yeah, like we honestly think it's boring right now, but just wait till like late July, like August. Those are going to be like the worst times
yeah,
to
that'll be
talk
tough.
anything hockey. But I mean, if you're talking about hate watch, if you're a true hate watcher, you probably want Vegas to win, so then Leafs fans are extra pissed at Mitch Marner. But we'll get into that later when we talk a little bit of the NHL recap. But first, we actually have a Sens move to talk about. Sens signed like an assistant goaltender coach, kind of just the guy that Allmark had around when he was going through some of the things behind the scenes. So good for him. I mean, the more bodies around, the better, probably. I mean, Allmark obviously has a big say in it, and the team thought it was a move they had to make, and they made it. So I bet Allmark's feeling really good, and it should only help the team out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna butcher his name, but so they hired Masia. I'm gonna go Maciej Svoch maybe as coordinator of goaltender scouting and development. So fancy name to say like an extra goalie coach, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like I know that I saw people to say like that he would be involved kind of in the in working with goalies at all levels of like the Sens, so like from like NHL all the way down to like guys that aren't even in the system yet, that are like in juniors or in college or whatever.
yeah,
So that's good, and he's gonna be an extra set of eyes for goalies. Maybe even we might see even more European goalies come get drafted by the Sens now because we've got a guy that has been working with a
true.
lot of European goalies over the last whatever how many years he's been doing this, working over in Europe. So no, yeah, I think it's good like have more guys that know the game, and I know there's been people that have questioned Justin Peters as a goalie coach in the past. So I think this is a good move to just add someone else, and that but not actually have to fire anyone or shake anything up. So yeah, I think it's not a bad move, and Allmark played well after he came in. So if that works, then let's just ride it.
Exactly. I mean, like making this move doesn't really hurt us at all. Like it's only going to help us. And honestly, I think what we might see is that he might like be around the team when they're in Ottawa, and then if they go on a road trip, he might like go down to Belleville if the B Sens are in town, or could go to like any Sens prospect that's close to Ontario. But like he'll probably stay relatively around Ottawa. And if he really needs to make a road trip, he could. If Ulmbrecht needs some extra support, which is totally fine. And but if not, yeah, I think he'd probably just help out in Belleville, like you said, just kind of go all the way, like all around the globe, just to help out other Sens develop goalies and stuff. So should help us in any way. Shouldn't hurt us at all. So might as well make it, right? I mean, pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it's not super difficult. I'm sure it's not the most expensive thing either. So yeah, it's good. And then we're gonna be probably looking at bringing in another goalie, so an extra guy who might be able to provide some input on who we should bring in.
Exactly, no doubt. Well, not the most exciting move, but at least it's a move. Can't complain about a move. But went over that, so we can get right into our draft profiles that we have this week. Starting with you, you have Xavier Villeneuve. Why don't you tell us about him?
Yeah, so this guy is a very, very exciting player. Left shot D out of the QMJHL, played for Blainville Boisbriand Armada this season. He had 6 goals, 32 assists for 38 points in 37 games, so a little bit over a point per game guy, so really good. His measurables, he's 5'11", 157 pounds, so not the biggest guy for sure. Height-wise, I mean, he could probably get to 6'1" by the time he gets to the NHL, but he definitely needs to put on weight at 157. That's way, way undersized in terms of weight, so definitely needs to get that up. And then in terms of his ranking, He's number 16 consolidated, so like we talked about last week, basically his average ranking is 16th based on the scouts that Elite Prospects polls. And then his highest is number 5 by a Smart Scouting, which I'm not familiar with, but they have him at 5. And the lowest is at number 39 from Craig Button from TSN. So definitely probably like a second half first round guy, but because of the measurables, I think is a guy that could slip even further. The obvious comp here is Lane Hudson. We saw him go into the second round. This is a guy that's very, very, very similar. Play style is almost identical. Like if you watch him play in the queue, it basically screams Lane Hudson. So there's been a lot of NHL teams have made mistakes on guys like that before, passing on them, and then they get into the second round and they become first pairing defensemen in the NHL. So if this guy's sitting there at 32, I would not be opposed to the Sens taking a chance on a guy like this. This guy has amazing skating, like, and just an elite skater, not just speed, like he is fast, but just his shiftiness, his edge work, just everything like that is, I mean, it's incredible stuff that what he can do on his skates. Probably the best offensive defenseman, like just pure offensive defenseman in this draft. So you're looking at a guy who's got great puck skills, can handle a puck in tight spaces, great vision, just can find guys and create, as you can see with how many assists he had. Overall, just like elite offensive talent. But obviously, the thing is, we always talk about it with the undersized offensive defenseman, is will the defensive game translate or get to a point where you can rely on them enough to be an everyday NHL defenseman playing top 4 minutes, right? That's what you're looking at. That was the question with Lane Hudson. That was the question with Cole Hudson. Quinn Hughes a little bit less, but he's just on a different level, obviously, to all these guys. But similar in terms of play style. Yeah, so like the biggest thing he needs to work on is definitely obviously defense. Learning how to like leverage his smaller frame to win puck battles, how to get engaged in the board battle so that you're not getting killed or losing battles against bigger guys, which he's going to come up against all the time in the NHL. So that's a big part of it. Also using his stick better. And he's got the IQ, right? So he's got the smarts and all that. So I'm not too worried about that. It's just how to use it, how to use your stick, how to use your body positioning to win battles and be effective defensively. Obviously, you're not drafting this guy to be a shutdown defenseman, right? You're drafting him to be a high-skilled offensive defenseman, which is not something we've necessarily had in Ottawa since probably Erik Karlsson. So I think it would be a good fit. Like, you can never have too many good offensive defensemen, especially in today's NHL. And if this guy's sitting there at 32, he's probably like the best player, just raw offensive talent by far. Similar to how I talked about Mathis Preston last week. Like, these guys are just elite offensive players that have big question marks in terms of compete and defense, and often NHL teams will look over that. So yeah, I don't know. How would you feel about drafting a just pure offensive defenseman?
I mean, it wouldn't be awful. That's kind of like the style the NHL is going in right now with like Lane Hudson, obviously, like you said, Quinn Hughes, Cole Hudson coming up. So it's not like it's not like it's out of the ordinary, right? There's a couple already in the NHL that are doing really good. Do I think if he's no, he looks like a really good. Like I'm looking at his stats, he looks like a really good player. So I think he'd be a great guy to get if he drops all the way to 32. But I think teams have already made mistakes on Cole and Lane Hudson. I think a team that doesn't really have that like small offensive defenseman yet would definitely take a chance at him. So I think it would be tough for him to still be around. But I think if he was still around, I think it'd be great to go get him because I feel like the more he plays, especially if he goes to college next year, he's only going to get better playing with bigger guys. And he can work on like those defensive skills that you were talking about. And I think his stock would just go up and he'd turn out to be like a really good trade piece, especially if he just plays like a couple of games in the NHL and looks like kind of Cole or Lane Hudson. So I think he would be a really good pick if he's still at 32. And I think it's like people might think it's risky, but like in this day in the NHL, a lot of players like him are starting to play good. So like it wouldn't be as risky as it was like maybe like 5 years ago. Also like Zeev Buium that just got drafted really high in the draft, who is small like him. Chase Reed is small and he's going to go early in this draft. So I mean, if you look at Stanley Cup teams, they don't really have a defenseman like this, especially lately. But
Yeah,
to think that Lane Hutson's the reason Montreal's, I mean, like he made some mistakes, don't get me wrong, but he's not the sole reason why the Habs will never win a cup or something like that. So I think a player like that really helps your team, and I think he'd be a great pick at 32 if he was still there.
yeah, I think it definitely goes against like what we've seen from Ottawa in the last like since the new regime has come in terms of
Yeah,
draft.
definitely.
They've definitely leaned into like drafting big defensemen. So this would definitely be going in a different direction, but like we talked about going with best player available, if this guy's there at 32, like he's got to be the best player available if not in the top couple best players that are sitting there. So yeah, I think if you got a guy like this skilled, this good of a skater, you gotta take him. And like you said, worst case, you can trade a guy like this. He's going to BU next year. Like he's going to a very good NCAA program, so he's gonna be playing against top competition. So I'm not too worried about the development. Like I think he'll get even better playing against older guys, bigger guys. He'll have to learn how to kind of use his smaller frame. But I mean, he pretty much dominated in the queue for the last like 3 years that he's been in there. So I'm not too worried about that. I think his transition will be really good, and I think he's going to be a really good offensive player. But like you said, is that something you build a Stanley Cup contender around? Maybe not. Especially since we have Sanderson already, like he would then slot into like a second pairing. Do you want a guy like this on your second pair, third pair, whatever that looks like? Who knows, right? But we talk about best player available. This guy could be
Exactly.
an absolute steal at 32.
Yeah, I think if he's there at 32, he's like the definition of taking the best player available. Because just like you said, I think he would definitely be number two behind Jake Sanderson, from what we know right now, at least, unless Jake Sanderson has some crazy fall, maybe because injuries and stuff. But at this moment, and when the draft will be held, we think Jake Sanderson is going to be our number one defenseman for at least 5, 7+ years. So does he fit in a number two role? Probably not. We're already kind of having those conversations with Jordan Spence. Does he really fit into like a number two or even number three on the Sens right now? So I don't think he'd fit into the lineup anytime soon. But again, like you said, I think he'd be a huge trade guy come down the road if he keeps developing. I think that'd be really good for the organization.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a guy, again, if you watch his highlights, it's just filthy. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
you just love to
He's
watch a guy
also
like this play.
he was also really good at the under 18 tournament, so he
Yeah,
probably will be on the World. He could be a player for the World Juniors next year or even the year after that, and could show some stock there too. That will get his trade stock up really high. So,
yeah,
and again, like I said last episode, having a Canadian, having a Sens prospect on Team Canada would be sick.
yeah, 100%. So, yeah,
Was that
that's
everything
all
you
I
got
got.
for? That's all you got for your boy Xavier Villeneuve?
Yeah, and we love a little bit of Quebec representation in Ottawa, you know?
Do we?
Yeah, we're trying to grow the game, right? Or grow the
Exactly.
team
Yeah.
in Quebec, grow the market. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, it was pretty cool that we shut down any watch parties in Gatineau. That was pretty cool.
That was funny. Yeah.
The thing I didn't get though is like the Habs weren't able to do watch parties outside their own arena for away games. That was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
The NHL didn't want to let them air a game. It was confusing. I didn't get that. Like
Yeah.
Slush Puppy Center makes sense because it's 40 minutes from the CTC and like 2 hours to Bell Center. So it's like, I mean, you're only cheering for the Habs because you're French and they're the better team right now. So whatever. Good on the Sens for making sure something like that stays like that. Well, you're done your guy, so I'll bring up my guy, which is honestly kind of like the same type of player that I was talking about last week. Last week was Ryan Rubrick. This week it's Brooks Rogowski. He's a 6'6", 231, 17-year-old, turning 18 soon, so he's an 08 from Brighton, Michigan, right-handed center for the Oshawa Generals. Now we were just talking so much, or I was mainly talking too about how Xavier Villeneuve was Canadian. This guy is American, but again, he could be the best player available at 32. And as much as we want some Canadians, and it'd be tough to draft some Americans right now, you just got to go the best player that could help your team. So he could be that guy. A couple things about him is he actually is he's a big multi-sport athlete. So in his hometown Michigan, he was a huge baseball player. When he was kind of like 13, 14, he still wasn't like kind of fully into hockey. He was playing high school hockey down in Michigan, and he was also on the baseball team. He was really good at baseball, but ended up choosing hockey. And I mean, look, turns out pretty good because he's almost a point per game player for the Oshawa Generals. Um, so on draft rankings and draft boards, he was as high, or I guess low. He was as low as 17 and as high as 44. So probably right around like the 28, 30 range, where is his kind of median. So right around the Sens, but could go like he could get drafted as 17 or 44. So could go anywhere. Couple of things with him is same with like Grabowski. Is his skating isn't at its peak just because he hasn't been playing hockey like his whole entire life at a like super competitive level. So he just started kind of going. He just started kind of like really putting the full commitment into hockey. So his skating still needs improvement. But for a guy who's 6'6", 231, he's never going to be the best skater. So he's gonna have to have some wingers with him, or I feel like he'd probably get moved to the wing. You don't see too many 6'6", 231 centers, so someone like him would probably be moved to the wing, which would be fine. But he'd probably need some complementary players beside him that could help him. Um, he also, for a guy who's 6'6", 231, he doesn't use his body like he should be. Like that is something though that you can coach, so that's something you can definitely work on. You can get better at, so that's good. Again, you can't teach the size and the height, so that's good that he has that now. And he did have some like he showed like a lot of good offensive stuff. Like he this year he scored 15 goals, 27 assists, so 42 points in 46 games. And then with the under 18s, the for the American development team, he had 3 assists in 4 games. So he's right around a point per game, just under. So it's not the best, but it's also not the worst. The thing is too is that he's rising. Like in 24-25, he had 23 points in 66 OHL games. So pretty much a point every 3 games. And then this year he went up to 42 and 46. So one thing I see with this guy is that it looks like he's progressing at a like a higher rate. It's not kind of like he's gone down. Like that was the thing with Ryan last week is that in 24-25 he had a really good season and he was kind of a median average around like that. There was a lot of talks with him going top 10, and then recently he had a bad year, so he's kind of going down. So he's like trending downwards, and Rogowski is trending up. So it's always good for someone who's trending up because then um, you you get him to like that next level of coaching, which he will be next year. He's already committed to play at Michigan State next year, so he goes up. He plays with some bigger hockey players, which should be good for him. He's in a OHL, which is just like everyone's kind of young, just skating really fast. So it should only help him playing with kind of older guys that are bigger, more his style of hockey. So that's good. Hope he has a good year at Michigan State. Also, another really good hockey school that could help his development. And a couple comparables I have for him is like at his top, like A plus. If he turns out to be A plus prospect, Tage Thompson maybe a little bit without the shot, not as good of a shot as Tage Thompson, but again can still get the points. Probably a little bit more is Alexi Protest. I'd probably say Protest is like the best comparable for him. And then middle of the road is like Jordan Stahl, Nick Waugh, and then bottom of the barrels Kevin Stenlin and Mark Kaslick. One thing I do like about him is that I feel like he's not a full hit or miss prospect. I think like at his peak he can be really good, but I think at his floor he can still be an NHL type player where he can help out the team if it's on a bottom six role or something like that. Except for guys like Xavier Villeneuve and Marty's Preston is or sorry Mathis Preston is if they're at the bottom, then they probably won't really help out a team. Like kind of like I think we compared it to like kind of Arthur Kaliev last episode,
Yeah.
where if he doesn't perform to his role, he can't really help the team. I think someone like Brooks Rogowski can still do that, like a Kevin Stenlin, go on that fourth line, play some good minutes, maybe turn out to be like a really good face-off guy, so that could help. So especially with a team like the Sens that kind of already have their core, and don't get me wrong, another like core player would be great, but for someone that even if they don't go to their potential, they can still help a team in a key way down the stretch if it leads to a Stanley Cup or something like that. So I think drafting guys like that with not much like error, like room for error, like Brooks Rogowski could have some room for error and can still help the Sens. I feel like it's more like you kind of want to draft someone that's boom or bust if you're not making the playoffs in a year, or like you're just a really bad team and you kind of want that guy that can really help your team and can be that boom prospect. So, I mean, he can still be that, but I kind of like guys right now that we draft that there's like their floor can still help the team. So I don't know what you think, but I think I really like that for a prospect that the Sens could draft this year or like 2-3 years down the road too.
Yeah, the things I really like, obviously the size. I mean, like you said, you can't teach that. That's just a mutant. Like 6'6", 230 is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's unreal. And I like the fact that you said that he didn't like he was baseball like kind of in between sports. Didn't fully commit to hockey until like more recently. Which reminds me of Shane Pinto a little bit, who we picked at number
Yeah.
32 overall. He was a
Yeah.
guy that wasn't fully committed to hockey until he was like, I think like 14 or 15, something like that. So that's fairly impressive. I do like that. And yeah, this guy, like, he came from Michigan, like high school hockey, to the OHL. So pretty impressive. And then nice little rise in points. Now the one thing I'm not, so he played on a bad team, so I'm not too worried about the points.
Oh yeah, his plus
Um,
minus.
Oshawa was really bad. So there was only one guy who was two guys that were point per game, him and another guy who played almost every game. So yeah, not a good team. So I'm not too worried about the points. The thing that worries me is the 17 penalty minutes only. So a guy that's 6'6", 230, and you mentioned it, doesn't use his size, and that 17 pims tells me right there he doesn't use his size. Doesn't get involved in
Exactly, but
battles.
I think kind of like what you were saying earlier is that he just got into like the hockey, he just kind of got into I shouldn't say he just got into hockey, but he just got into like the
Yeah,
real competitive aspect of hockey, so he probably still doesn't know fully how to use his body, and it's just gonna come with coaching. And I think NCAA would help with that a lot because like that is probably for like a junior hockey level, NCAA is probably like the most physical you can get before the NHL.
yeah, I think yeah, we'll see how he's gonna have to adapt to NCAA. Like it's way more physical than the OHL, and only having 17 pims when you're playing against like 16, 17 year olds compared. Now you're gonna go play against guys that are grown into their bodies and big. Like 17 when you're 6'6" in the OHL, usually you're getting a lot of penalties because you're just big and you just knock over guys, so you just get penalties. So yeah, that
Yeah,
just tells me that
we know that
he's
firsthand from Gabriel Eliasson.
yeah, exactly. And so that tells me that he's not very like aggressive or gets involved in a lot of battles and things like that, which is fine. Like that's something that can, like you said, you can kind of gain that edge over time. But that's definitely the only question mark I have for him is like, will you be soft or will you eventually turn into the beast that you have the ability to be? You know?
I definitely see what you're saying, but I think it might be something where like like his first kind of like 10 games in the NCAA kind of gets like just he gets hit a lot. He doesn't like it, and he's still like he might like I honestly think he'll struggle in his first 10 games in NCAA just adapting to him and be like, okay, yeah, this is not like the OHL at all. And then, but I think after that, he's really gonna be like, hey, I need to start using my body. I'm not gonna get like thrown around from these guys anymore. Like I need to use my body to my capability, and it's only gonna help him. So I think do the penalty minutes scare me a little bit? Maybe, but at the same time, we shouldn't complain about penalty minutes. Like if he doesn't have a lot of penalty minutes, it's a good thing. But at the same time, it does, especially in the OHL where you can make an NHL hit and it's gonna get penalized. So I definitely see what you're saying, but I think it's something that can get easily fixed. I mean, we kind of see with Tyler Clevin. Like Tyler Clevin, how big of a guy he is. he doesn't use his body that much, and it seems like the more he plays, like next year he's gonna hit way more than this year. I mean, like, if we literally think about like the final kind of big play of the whole entire season was Tyler Clevin absolutely laying out Nikishin. So I think
Yeah,
stuff like that's only going to keep coming, and players like Rogowski, who kind of isn't hasn't played that style of hockey yet, like he hasn't really played any hard physical hockey, is only going to help him if he goes in the if he performs well at college.
yeah, 100%. And if the Sens do draft him, like I'll be looking for him to just be more aggressive. Like I don't need you to score, a ton of points. I don't think like I like the Tage Thompson comp. Um, Obviously he probably doesn't have the same kind of shot that Tage
Yeah,
Thompson will
definitely
have.
not. Yeah,
But look at Tage Thompson in the playoffs. Like he wasn't really that effective because he's big, but
exactly.
he's a bit of a soft player. He's a perimeter guy. He's not. He hasn't learned that it's not going to fly in the playoffs yet. And fair enough, it's his first time in the playoffs, so hopefully, he'll figure that out. But if you don't want big friendly giants, right? You want guys that are big and that will utilize their size. Because at that point, you might as well take a smaller guy who has more skill, more speed, right? If it's going to be a similar physicality. So I really like this guy. I like a lot of things about him. A lot of things that you said I love. But now I need to see a little bit more edge, a little bit more physicality. But if the Sens pick this guy, I will not be mad because you can never have too many 6'6", 230-pound forwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, just from like looking at the past years of what we drafted too, it would not surprise me if this guy does put on a Sens jersey on draft night. And just goes back to about the Tage Thompson stuff. I think a guy like him who has that really good shot, he's trying to find lanes where like he can take like a really good open shot, and that just doesn't really happen in the playoffs. So it might help a guy like Rogowski who doesn't have as good of a shot, that he knows he kind of has to go to the dirty areas. He has to go in front of the net. He has to tip it. He has to find dirty ways to score goals, which from what we've seen in these playoffs, is how you score most of your playoff goals, especially a team like Carolina. Like they have some nice shots. Don't get me wrong; they have some really good players, but a lot of their goals are just going to the net and just finding a way for that puck to go in the net.
Yeah, a guy like this, opposite to how Villeneuve, like he's higher ranked, but I'm thinking he might drop. This is a guy that I could see actually a team reaching for. If you look at the draft last year, Anaheim picked Roger McQueen at 10, who's a very good player, but he was hurt a lot. But just because he's 6'5", they picked him at 10. And then Philadelphia picked Jack Nesbitt 2 picks later, who is just huge, but not exactly. He probably wasn't a number 12 overall like talent. Sim on a really good Windsor team this year, he had 58 points in 55 games. So similar kind of clip as Rogowski, just a little bit smaller. But you see teams reach for those big size forwards all the time. So I wouldn't be that surprised at seeing a team go off the board and go pick this guy, in the top 16 picks.
Uh, that's a really good shout, Nesbitt. Yeah, kind of just he's actually is over a point per game, but still, I mean,
Yeah,
right around it. Kind of, yeah, definitely
on a better
a good
team,
comparison. Yeah,
on a
true,
much better team. Yeah.
true. So yeah, I mean that's all I got for Rogowski. Hopefully the Sens either draft him or Rubric, so I win the bet. But at the end of the day, the main goal is whoever they draft. Hopefully, it turns out to be the next McDavid or Kale McCarr. So,
Exactly.
anything else you got on prospects for today?
No, I think it's good. I think it's funny that I brought up two smaller offensive guys, and you brought up
Yeah, we
two
went
power
complete
forwards.
opposite.
Yeah, the viewers can see how we think and how we see the game very differently. So,
Exactly.
but it's good. It's good to have two different point of views.
Exactly. 100%. Well, you want to go on? You want to talk about a little bit the NHL playoffs? Should we start with the series that ended earlier than the other? So we can start with the Avalanche and Knights. I think both me and you were way off on this series. I think you were tempted to go the Knights a little bit from how you were talking about it, but then you ended up going Colorado. I went Colorado too, but I think I said I was like I probably wouldn't be surprised if the Knights won. Now the Knights won, but I'm surprised. and it's not,
Yeah.
and it's how they like 4 games. And now, don't get me wrong, Cale Makar missed the first two and was still probably injured for games 3 and 4. McKinnon was banged up the whole series. I think Nichushkin was banged up. Like they were banged up, but still, like you'd think a President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche team that are not frauds because they beat the Wild in 5 games would not get swept even if they're injured to the Golden Knights. What did you see in that series?
Well, my biggest takeaway is I keep saying it, if you have two goalies, you don't have one. And we've seen that over and over and over in these playoffs. I think I've said it on this podcast like more than once. It happened to Buffalo, and now it happened to Colorado. I'm blanking on another team, but there's another team. Oh, well, the Wild a little bit. I wouldn't blame it necessarily on their goaltending, but nonetheless, they don't know who their first goalie is, so you know, they have two basically. So when you start flip flopping goalies, I don't think that's a recipe for success. You gotta ride one guy and hope they can bring you to the promised land. When you start flip flopping, guys can't find a rhythm, and the team knows that they have zero confidence in their goaltending. They know that the coaches don't have confidence in the goaltending because you keep switching. So yeah, that's the first one for me. Like, if it was me, I would have probably went with Blackwood. I think he's the better overall. Like, I know Wedgwood had a good season, but he's been a career backup. Blackwood's been a starter at times. I think he's the better overall goalie. So I would have rode him. They didn't. They chose to flip flop, and they got swept. So very surprising. But like you said, not having Cale Makar for the first 2 games at home was just you just put yourself behind the 8 ball right away. Plus having other guys banged up. Credit Minnesota, they absolutely destroyed Colorado in terms of physicality. So yeah, I mean, respect to Vegas. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vegas just wanted it more. Like there was just something in them that wanted it more. It meant more to them than Colorado, which I don't think is entirely true. I think Colorado definitely wanted it a lot too, but obviously Vegas wanted a little bit more. And I mean, yeah, just to say goaltend, like Carter Hart is a guy who didn't even have like an outstanding regular season. He was hurt for a good amount of it, but still, like he went on. You could say he's the favorite for uh to, to be the best player. What's that trophy called
The
again?
Conn Smythe.
Yeah, the Conn Smythe. He could be the
Yeah.
favorite for the Conn Smythe right now for the Golden Knights. So he's having a great playoffs. Jack Eichel is right around there too, and then obviously Mitch Marner. But Mitch Marner, he didn't have a great second round against Colorado. He wasn't awful. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the Mitch Marner we saw in rounds 1 and 2. So I think if Marner wants to win this award, he's gonna have to go back to what he was doing in rounds 1 and 2, because I think what you do in rounds 3 and 4 probably weigh a little bit more for the Conn Smythe than they do rounds 1 and 2. So um, I would love to see Mitch Marner hold that Stanley Cup and win the Conn Smythe, because boy, it would be hilarious.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I think like Vegas just was a little bit healthier than Colorado, and that
Yeah,
can mean a whole lot in the playoffs. Colorado played a tough series against Minnesota. LA not so much, but Vegas kind of got a cakewalk through Edmonton and Anaheim, who are two teams that don't necessarily play the most physical style of hockey. So they kind of came out of those two series, kind of or sorry, Utah and Anaheim, not Edmonton, who are two like, kind of skilled, fast, young teams, not necessarily the most physical. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that they necessarily got tested to the same amount that Colorado did against Minnesota. Came in a little bit healthier. They have their number one goalie who's hot, and they have some. I mean, that team is just unreal. Let's be honest. Like, I think we are all sleeping on them a little
yeah,
bit. They're just sick. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, you just said it perfectly. I mean, I don't know if we were sleeping on them just because they did not have a good regular season. Like they were, especially like their record against playoff teams was terrible. I don't know if we were entirely sleeping on them or they just weren't getting the goaltending, and now they are getting the goaltending. Like that's honestly how easy it could be.
yeah, and
But yeah,
credit to
that
Torts.
series exactly credit source. I mean, who knows how much he's been doing, but he's doing something obviously because
Yep.
It looks like a new team. Well, Carolina, Montreal, the good old gentleman sweep. Usually you give them the one win in game four, but I guess Montreal took it in game one. And the biased sense of me is saying that they only won that game because Carolina didn't play in 12 days.
100%.
Then 100%. Okay, so we can pretty much just call it a sweep then. Like we don't need to count
Yes.
in game one.
1,000%. I mean,
The games were actually locked in. It was a sweep.
I heard Chris, I think it was Chris Pronger talk on, I forget which podcast or show. And he was saying like he only did it 2 times where he had a long break, and it was like 8 days between series. And he said like it's impossible. He talked about how like his body would like just go into like recuperation mode and basically like start healing and trying to heal the injuries and the little nicks and whatever. And so then when you start playing again, your body's like, whoa, 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 what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, I'm in recoup mode. Like, I'm not ready to push. Whereas when you just keep playing, like, your adrenaline and all that just keeps pushing you through that barrier of, like, hurt and injured. And you just play through and it just keeps going. Whereas when you take that break, then everything starts hurting. And then you're like, you know, trying to work on all that. You're on the massage table every day. You can't replicate playoff intensity in practice. Like nobody can replicate that. So it was just brutal. And he said 8 days. Like Carolina was what, like 12. It's like almost two
Yeah,
weeks.
12.
Yes, I mean it was. I thought they would be okay. But hearing a former NHL player say that, like I was like, yeah, no, he's right. Like he's definitely right. Like I could see that. So yeah, it makes sense that kind of Montreal was able to just keep going. They were already in that playoff mode. They just came in, played good. But nothing from those other 4 games tells me that that was anything but Carolina just not being a hundred
Yeah,
percent ready.
definitely.
Like they just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest. I really don't care about the like. Oh, we were never down 3-0. Both teams got swept. I can definitely sit here and say Montreal would probably beat us in a series. I mean, don't
Nah,
exactly
nah,
know,
nah,
but
nah, nah. That's a
I
hot
honestly
take.
think they
Hot
probably
take.
would.
No, no,
I
I
don't know if
don't
it's a
agree.
hot take. I mean,
I
they literally won
disagree.
2 rounds. Like,
Yeah, they backed themselves into 2 rounds. I don't care. I'm gonna stand on business here because yeah, they won, and Dolbesh was unreal and kind of carried them a lot of the way. But Allmark was equally as good. If we wouldn't have played Carolina, we wouldn't have lost Sanderson, wouldn't have lost Zoom. Now this is a lot of ifs, obviously, okay, but we're playing that game. We're doing the ifs, and if we would have been on the other side of the bracket, I think we would have gotten as far as Montreal. So that's my take for the day, and I've been saying that all week, and I'm going to continue to say it because I truly believe it. I think Montreal got a little bit lucky in a lot of those games. Not even a little bit, a lot lucky. I love Martin St. Louis. I think he's like, if not the best coach, he's definitely like top 5 coaches in the NHL right now. What he's doing with that team is absolutely unreal. Just the confidence that they play with and that he gives them is just unreal. But I still think we're a much better team. We just got the short end of the stick, and that's our own fault. We stumbled into the playoffs again.
yeah,
Like next year, we have to be good in the regular season in order to not play the best team when we come into the playoffs and give ourselves a better chance. But Carolina showed that they just manhandled every team that came their way. And even with our 2 top Ds out, we did better than the 2 other. Well, we didn't win a game, but overall, over the series, we did better in terms of, limiting and getting opportunities. So overall, I think we're much better. And I said this to my buddies on the weekend after Montreal lost. I'm like, I don't think it's the hottest take to say that there's a chance Montreal doesn't even make playoffs next year.
oh my God,
I said it.
dude, they're
Clip
like the
it.
best
Clip it.
regular. They're like get so lucky in the regular. Like, how many times do they come back down a goal with like a minute? Like we know it
Exactly. Well,
firsthand.
luck runs out.
Does, but they just like
But like, think about
their
it. Florida,
their team
Florida's
just
gonna be back.
screams regular season team to me.
Nah, nah. Think about it. Florida's gonna be back. They're gonna be good again. Okay, most likely. Tampa will probably still be in and around it. They're always in and around it as long as they have Cooch and Vasilevsky. Buffalo will be better. So, well, you would think. So they're going to be in and around it. Sens should be as good, if not better, in theory. Toronto, who knows, but they could be back in the mix. Boston made the playoffs out of nowhere, and they're only going to get better, I think, because they have some good young pieces. So they're
Okay,
going to
if you're
be in
gonna
and
say some
around
good
it.
young pieces, you could say the same about Montreal. They're the
No,
second youngest team in
I'm
the league
saying
this year.
Montreal has good players. No doubt about it. I think they probably will make playoffs, but I don't think it's the hottest take to say that they may not make the playoffs.
I think there's a better chance they miss or the Sens miss.
Montreal, 100%.
You're
Our
making
team
me.
is better on paper than Montreal.
You're making me like
I'm telling
have
you.
some like you're
Clip
making
it.
me be a Habs fan for a minute.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't
Clip
know.
it.
I don't know, man.
I might just put a futures bet on Montreal not making the playoffs.
Good. You should honestly. I
I
mean,
should.
okay, you just had like a crazy hot take. I'm gonna go like the coldest take of all time. Is that I just want the Sens to in a playoff spot the whole entire year. Like I want them to get off to a really good start and just ride it. Like I don't want to sweat any games like this next year. We haven't got that the past 2 years of making the
Nope.
playoffs. Both years we've had to sweat it. And hopefully by year three the team knows. And if we don't get any injuries to our captain at the start of the year, like what happened to Brady, which was awful, but at the same time, still got to win those games. But yeah, you had a super hot take. I'm gonna have like the coldest take of all time. I just hope the Sens get off to a really hot start and just stay in it for the whole entire year. I mean, like Montreal thing, don't get me wrong. I think I saw they have like one of the like they have a super high shooting percentage this these playoffs, which also makes sense though because I mean at the same time they're creating a lot of space. Like how many times in the offensive zone they just hold the puck for a longer period of time and they find like I think that's kind of like style. They're just accepting that they're not a team that's going to go in there and shoot the puck 30 times. They're going to go in, they're going to hold the puck till they get a grade A chance. Because most of their goals, like obviously following them the whole entire playoffs, hoping they lose. A lot of their goals are like wide open shots or something like that. Like it's not like
A lot of
it's a
their
shot.
goals
Like
are
there
like,
was some lucky goals. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
Like especially Game 7 goals. Game 7 goals are lucky, but like games 1 through 6, there's a lot of good goals in there too. So
they're like the
I'd
Jays
love for
then.
them to regress.
They're like the
Yeah, the Jays
2025
have some devil
Jays.
magic.
Exactly.
Exactly,
You
that's what I
said
was
it
thinking
last
too.
week. So
Just
that
don't have a
runs
Jeff
out.
Hoffman. Just don't
Well,
have a Jeff
they
Hoffman.
do. It's Lane Hudson.
Gallagher? Lane Hudson. Oh, Lane Hudson. I wish Jeff Hoffman was as good as Lane Hudson.
Those turnovers were something. But
Yeah,
yeah, no.
some of
Obviously
them are
Montreal
bad.
is a good team, and I am hating, and I will continue to hate. But I don't think it's the craziest thing to say that they may not make playoffs next year. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, Carolina, Vegas, Stanley Cup. I mean, I honestly have no idea where you. I think this is a super 50-50 series.
Yeah, flip the coin. That's what I'm thinking too. I think Vegas. I don't know. I can't even say that, but I don't know. Vegas, like the way they're playing, they're just playing some unreal hockey. Um, and their top players are getting it done, whereas Carolina's top players aren't getting it done as much. Like
Yeah,
that Aho line isn't getting a ton of the share of points. It's mostly their second line. So we'll see. But I do like the fact that, Eichel and Marner are just cooking. So I'd be very scared of that if I was Carolina. But
I agree.
Carolina's been unreal. Um, I think it might come down to goaltending, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see some low scoring games. Like these are not gonna be high scoring games. We're gonna see like 2-1, 3-2, maybe 4-3 at most if it's like an overtime game. I think it's gonna be low scoring, which leads to just as you said, goaltender. Whoever is the better goaltender is probably gonna win. And honestly, like you flip a coin right now. Honestly, like Freddie arguably been the best goalie in the playoffs. He also hasn't seen a lot of shots, and then Carterhart's arguably been probably one of the second best goalies, and he's seen a lot of shots. So. It's gonna be close. I do think that this is the deepest team that Carolina has played so far, which isn't gonna be great for them because Vegas can roll out 3 lines, and that's why Carolina's so good is because they can roll out 4 lines and usually win every single line. So I think that's gonna be tough for them because Vegas, like, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why they beat Colorado is because their depth scoring was just way better than Carolina. I would like to see William Karlsson take another step. I think he could help Vegas a lot. I think Vegas is gonna win, and I'm gonna go VGK in six, like Liam Blutman. If you've seen him on Twitter, he's been
Yeah, yeah.
loving life recently.
Itchy for Mitchy, right? That's what he says.
Exactly. I'm itchy for Mitchy.
Um, so I'll just go opposite to you then. I'll go. Who's got home ice?
Canes,
Canes. Canes in six.
Canes in
Or sorry,
six. They win on the
Canes in
road.
seven at home.
Canes in seven. That'd be
Yeah.
a good game seven from like a hockey. Like it probably wouldn't get a lot of good numbers, but I think if you're just like a straight diehard hockey fan, this is going to be some pretty good hockey that we're going to
Yeah,
see.
hundred
Two
percent.
hard hitting teams. They like to have puck control the whole entire time. They get the puck on net. They both have a really deep D core, good goalies. Like we're just gonna see some. It's gonna like remind us a little bit about Florida. Like both these teams are like teams that are kind of like Florida, just deep. Probably not the top end talent like Florida does, and depth wise talent, but we're gonna see some really good hockey.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas has got some pretty high end players.
I do, but like I'm just like Florida's second line also has like Matthew Kachuk's on their second line.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
fair.
just like yeah. I think forwards wise, Vegas probably has the better players, but then D core, I think Carolina has it, and then goalies. I would take either one right now. I would be fine with either.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Carter Hart right now. He's just been very, very good. I think he's had to do more work than Anderson overall, so I'd lean there. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch these guys duke it out.
Exactly. Well, hopefully it's a good series, and we'll have some games to talk about next episode. Anything else you want to say before we head off here?
Nope, that's it.
Perfect. Well, thanks guys for listening. Episode 8 of the Common Sense podcast. Hopefully see you guys again next week, and thanks for listening.